what's up guys? Got a great video blog for you, man. I got a message this past weekend from Scott. Scott writes in, "Hey TJ, I hope you find the time to read this message. My name is Scott and I'm currently living in Sacramento, California. I truly cannot thank you enough for the ongoing information and motivation. So far, I've experienced a tremendous amount of progress mentally, but I must admit I'm not fully seeing the results that I want physically. I'm about 6 feet tall and 153 pounds, but I can't figure out how to add mass to my frame. I eat a ton of food and it's usually until I'm completely full. What would you suggest a skinny kid like me do to bulk up? Thank you, Scott." Scott, that's a really good question, and I can relate to it on a certain extent. You know, I would consider myself what is classified as an ectomorph / mesomorph. And if you're not familiar with those terms, guys, there's ectomorph, there's mesomorph, and there's endomorph. And I have a video describing these three in greater detail if you haven't seen already, but high-level overview of what an ectomorph is, which, Scott, it's most likely the type of body you have. An ectomorph is typically tall, lanky, thin bones, can eat a ton. You won't see any fluctuation in weight. Just very slender and lanky all around. So, Scott, I'm going to assume that that's the type of body you have. It sounds like it being, what, 6 feet tall, 153 pounds. You're most likely an ectomorph. That's not to say that you're 100% ectomorph. You might be a little bit of that plus meso, but most likely you're predominantly an ectomorph. But that's a great question that you bring in. You know, how can an ectomorph or a skinny kid or someone that has a very hard time gaining mass put on mass? It's a great question. Happens a lot. Very common. As I've mentioned before, guys, there's 4 pillars to any transformation process. There's lifting. There's nutrition / supplementation. There's your cardio regimen. And then there's your sleep regimen. I'm going to break down each one of these specifically for an ectomorph, so we can dive extremely deep into each one and you can see, okay, where am I making mistakes? Where can I make adjustments? You know, I thought I was going to the gym, killing it, putting forth all this effort, doing everything that I can, but that might be the truth, but it might be towards the wrong things. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you're doing 100% effort and doing drop sets and supersets, but you know what? If you're skinny, you don't need to be shaping muscles. You already have the shape, right? We need to add some mass, and then later on we can start to shape and chisel away at the statue. But getting ahead of myself, let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about the first pillar, lifting. What kind of lifting? What's the architecture of our lift going to be? Okay, we're going to be focusing on compound lifts, guys. Scott, everyone else that's ectomorph, you're going to focus on compound lifts. Not secondary lifts, not shaper lifts, but compound lifts. Compound lifts, guys, bench press, squats, deadlifts. These are multi-joint, multi-muscle movements that are demanding, that are putting a great demand on the overall body, not just one specific part of the muscle. You know, it's not just a single arm bicep curl, you know, focusing just on the bicep. Okay, we're doing multi-joint movements, focusing on multiple areas of a muscle region. That's a compound movement. Secondary movements is what I just described briefly, where it's just targeting that one specific region of the muscle, so like a concentration curl. Okay, another thing we want to avoid is getting on machines. Most of the time, those are just very specific towards that region of a muscle. You know, if you go to the pec deck, that's very controlled movement. If you were to use dumbbells on the flies, you're going to be a lot better off. A lot more muscles are engaged there. So compound over secondary / machine lifts. That's the first part. Second part is our rep count and our set scheme. Most of you guys are probably doing, I don't know what you're doing, Scott, but I'm assuming a lot of you guys are doing very basic rep schemes, you know, 4x8, 4x10, 4x12, maybe a 4x8 with the drop set at the end, maybe supersetting a couple of exercises together. that's okay. Your mind is on the right track, but for your purposes, we do not want to burn extra calories. We're trying to preserve calories. Your body is already, one thing I forgot to mention, an attribute of an ectomorph is that you have a very high metabolism as is. So we don't want to be going in and burning a tremendous amount of calories because your body already does that on its own. What we want to do is promote muscle growth, not through intensity in terms of supersets and drop sets and some of those cannonball sets and all those special techniques. Instead, we want to create a tremendous amount of poundage on the muscles, impact on the muscles. We want to go heavy. 6 to 8 reps is the perfect ballpark of where you want to be a majority of the time throughout your lift. So instead of a 4x8 set rep scheme, it might be like an 8, 6, 4, 2. Or maybe you're incorporating just 4 sets of 6, 4 sets of 8. Perhaps you're doing a 5x5, 10 sets of 4 reps, higher volume. And this is going to allow you to really put a lot of weight on the bar, creating a tremendous demand for the muscles to grow. You know, you don't go to the grocery store to buy bread unless you run out of bread in the pantry, right? Same is true with the muscles. Your muscles have no desire, no need to grow until you slam a bunch of poundage on there, okay? Specifically for you ectomorphs. So that is the rep set scheme that you want to go for. We're focusing on heavy, 8, 6, 4, 2, 10x4s, 5x5s, 4x6s, 4x8s. Also, guys, really important to use a partner. I typically don't use partners a lot, but in this instance, if you're one of these individuals having a very hard time, you're going to need someone to spot you because you have to have that extra poundage on there. When you think you can do 6, your partner's going to make sure that you get 8, and he's going to make sure you do it safely. So make sure you have a partner. It's not like you can just drop the pin, right? Because we're not doing drop sets, we're not doing supersets at all. Compound, heavy lifts. You must have a partner so you don't injure yourself and so that you make sure you're continuously growing, creating that poundage, and adding that poundage. In addition to that, the rest periods in between our sets and our exercises are going to be increased. A lot of times, I personally think 45 seconds to a minute is a great number for me. But I wouldn't consider myself an ectomorph at this time. I don't have a difficult time fluctuating my body weight. I can lose fat and I can gain weight very easily. I'm more of a mesomorph. Whereas an ectomorph, as mentioned, has a very hard time gaining size. So we do not want to burn those calories. So let's increase the time in between our sets and our exercises. So 45 seconds to a minute is going to be a little low. That's going to be a little fast. Heart rate's going to be too high there. Let's expand that. I'm talking, now this is where it really becomes an art. There's the science. The science is the numbers that I'm giving you, but it really becomes an art when you apply it, and you can start to figure out what's best for you. The only way you can do that is to go in there and figure it out. But generally speaking, depending on the amount of, if you're doing like 10 sets of 4, then your rest is probably going to be upwards of 2.5 minutes. If you're doing 4 sets of 8, then it might be a minute and a half. So I'm going to give you guys the window of about 1.5 minutes to 2.5 minutes in between your sets when trying to bulk and trying to put on this mass. Okay, 1.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes in between sets and exercises. What about the overall duration of the workout? We've talked about this in other videos. Depending on your rest periods, right? If you're doing a lower rest period, then your workout duration is going to be lower. Okay? If you're doing 1.5 minutes rest, then your workout might be an hour, probably around an hour, if you're trying to bulk. If you are resting upwards of 2.5 minutes in between sets, then your workout is going to be a little longer. So you might be upwards of 1.5 hours. I think if you're in there longer than that, it's just, it can, I don't know how effective it becomes when you're going over 1.5 hours. A few things come into play, the rest in between sets and exercises, as well as how many times a week you're lifting. I personally lift 6 to 7 times a week. That doesn't work for you. That's too much. That's too much. You're going to be burning too many calories. You need to decrease a little bit. And it's a very hard thing to overcome because here you are, you're completely committed to lifting, you're all in, you want to have the right nutrition, and you just want to change your body, you just want to grow. You're doing everything you can to transform. But here I am telling you, you can't go to the gym that much. It's a very hard thing. It takes a lot of discipline to step away from the gym at times. 3 to 4 times a week is all you need to be lifting right now. You do not want to burn too many calories. We are trying to put the body in a state of surplus, a caloric surplus. What's coming in, you're giving the body exactly what it needs and a little bit more. There's a little bit of spillage and overage. So going to the gym too often throughout the week is going to burn too many calories. So that's another thing to take into account. So that's the first pillar, lifting. Let's talk about the second pillar, cardio. What do we do for cardio? Nothing. No cardio right now. None. Same reason as I've already mentioned. We do not want to be burning too many calories. Okay? There's a time where you're going to want to start doing some maybe like high intensity interval training to help break through any plateaus. Just do a quick spike in testosterone levels and growth hormones. You can throw that in periodically, maybe once every few weeks or so, but not a consistent regimen of weekly cardio sessions. You're going to completely kill your gains. Pillar 3, nutrition/supplementation. Let's jump into this. This is where most of you guys make your mistakes, and this is where most of the results reside in. Yes, we've all heard eat big, get big. It's true. But it's not eat big, get fat. And there's a big difference there, and a lot of people don't know how to differentiate the two. Eat big, get big is very, very, very valid. But too many of us use this bulking word or this eat big, get big ideology as an excuse to eat whatever we want at any time of the day, and as many amount of the quantity through the roof, whatever. We cannot do that, guys. We have to have more control and discipline. Yes, we do need to eat a lot, and we need to eat frequently, but it cannot be crap food. If we eat crap food, we'll look like crap. That's the bottom line. But how much do we eat? We take our body weight times 11. That's our baseline metabolism, our baseline maintenance calories. That's what we need to maintain. Then we add 500 calories to that, which is a surplus, to start bulking. Maybe that's not enough at first, but start there. It's a perfect place to start. As you continue to go through this, you should monitor and see if you're gaining a pound a week or not. That's our goal, a pound a week. If you're not hitting that number, you need to bump it up to another 500 calories a week. Okay? So, yes, that might seem like, depending on where you are, if you're counting calories right now, that might seem like not enough calories, but trust me, if you're eating the right things and you're supplying the body with exactly what it needs plus a little more, you're going to see very lean muscle gains. If it's not enough and you've applied what I just said for a week or two, then add another 500. Apply that. See the results. Continuously adding 500 so that you're on track to gain 1 pound a week. Okay? When do we stop that process though? We want to stop when we're probably just over single digits body fat. And typically the best way to tell if you don't have a body fat caliper or you don't have tape measures, anything like that, you can just eyeball it in the mirror. The moment you don't see your abs anymore, you're done. You are done. You're over 10%. When you hit 10, 11%, then we can start to do some of those secondary movements, so some of those shapers, and reveal this new added lean muscle that you just put on. Don't continue to add all this, some of this is going to be fat, guys. If you don't control the calories and the quality of calories that are coming in, you're going to turn into fat. So a lot of guys say we're bulking, eating big, getting big, and they go from, skinny, 6%, 7%, 8%. They're not necessarily muscular, but they're skinny, and they commit to bulking, and they go 6%, 7%, 10%, 12%, 18%. Now they're fat, and your confidence goes down, your performance goes down, your mental fortitude goes down. Everything diminishes. So don't use it as an excuse to get out of control. Another reason why we want to continuously supply the body with a surplus of calories is to constantly fuel the muscles, constantly ensuring that the body doesn't go into a catabolic state, meaning the body starts to eat away our muscle tissue for energy. We want our body to be in an anabolic state, continuously adding muscle and mass constantly. So you might be eating 4 or 5 meals a day right now. It needs to be at least 6, probably upwards of 8 meals a day. Constantly supplying the body with calories from morning till nighttime, all throughout the day. I know of a common challenge amongst ectomorphs, these skinny guys. They just don't have the stomach for all this food. I had this problem when I first started my fitness journey. Had a hard time eating all the time, even if it was clean or not. I would consider myself a small stomach. I would constantly snack throughout the day, very, very, very little snacks. But in terms of having medium-sized meals throughout the day, I was just full all the time. I felt bloated all the time. Takes a lot of energy for the body to digest all this food, so I was feeling lethargic all the time, and it just felt like crap. I just felt like crap. So if that is you, I have a couple of suggestions for you. Start eating more dense foods. Peanut butter, almond butter, potatoes, some of these things that are going to yes, they're going to fill you up, but they're jam-packed with calories, fats, carbs, and proteins all in there. Okay. Another way around this is to either buy your own mass shake or build your own mass gaining shake. Plenty of supplements online you can find, but if you want to build your own, throw in milk, banana, peanut butter, almond butter. What am I missing? Dog's distracting me. Milk, peanut butter or almond butter, banana, and then some whey protein. There you go. You have a mass gainer shake as is. Let me shut the door. I think the UPS man is here. But that's how we can make sure that our body's getting the calories we need, even if we don't feel like we can stomach it. Add in a mass gainer. One thing I didn't mention, guys, I said the calories amount, right? 11. So body weight times 11 plus 500 calories. Of those calories, the daily caloric intake, we need to split that up and allocate it into our macronutrient split. A very common one is 40-40-20. Talked about this before. But for you ectomorphs, we need to change that up a little bit. 50%, not 40, 50% carbohydrates, 25% protein, 25% fat. So you take your overall daily caloric intake. Let's say you're at 3,000 calories. 50% of that is going to be carbs. 25% of that fat, protein, 25% of that fats. Very important. Do the work, guys. It's upfront, a lot of work. Takes a lot of discipline. Takes a lot of time to calculate all that. Figure it out. Figure out how many meals you need a day, how big each meal should be, what's in those meals. But I guarantee you, if you put in the groundwork now, you're going to be able to build a strong foundation for a tremendously, a fantastic. Let me try this again. If you guys put in the work early on, you're going to build a great foundation so that when it's time to build that strong house, this physique that people admire and that you're proud of, it's going to stand true, stand the test of time because that foundation is strong. But if you skip around that, it breaks. So put in that work. It's completely worth it. Let's talk about supplements. Real basic supplements, as I said, mass gainer, if applicable. If you feel like you cannot get in the solid meals, you can go the liquid route, which I personally prefer. In addition to that, you're going to take your whey proteins, your casein proteins, glutamine, BCAAs, creatine, mono, fish oils, and that's it. There's no need to be taking L-carnitine, CLA, some of those fat burners. Obviously, you don't need that. So stick to the real basics. Don't have to go out of control with that. Last but not least, rest and sleep. So we talked about the rest in between sets and exercises. Let's talk about our sleep patterns. We have to ensure that our sleep is consistent on a daily basis. Meaning we don't go to bed at 8 o'clock one night and then 1 a.m. the next day and then 10 p.m. the next day. Try and make it as consistent as possible. 11 o'clock every night, 10 o'clock every night, 7 to 9 hours a night, which it's hard. I mean, I understand, guys. That's the ideal. Remember, that's the science behind it. That's the numbers. In a perfect world, 7 to 9 hours of sleep is great. But we know the world isn't perfect. So the art becomes, how can you dance around it? How can you make it as applicable as possible to your life and your situation, your environment? So maybe it is 9 hours consistently, but oh, you know what? I got to wake up a little early. Do what you have to do, but do your very best at the same time to get that sleep in. And that covers it, guys. That's what I got for you, man. It's really, for the most part, it's elementary. Once you understand the process of what it takes to add these calories and to add this size, you're going to start to really enjoy this process. Scott, you mentioned the mental transformation is there, the mental development. I'm assuming you're starting to gain confidence. You understand that this goal that I have is no longer scary because I've already committed to it, and you're willing to persevere. You're determined. You're disciplined. You're doing the due diligence. You're writing me emails. You're getting stuck. You're not giving up. You're questioning me. You're reaching out for other resources, and that's great, man. That's great. That mental piece is so important. That alone tells me you're gonna get somewhere, man. You're gonna get somewhere. Guaranteed, because you have the mental piece down. That's the hardest part. Continue to persevere. I guarantee you that body, the physical appearance and vanity is going to come. It's guaranteed, man. Just keep working at it. Keep plugging away and apply these principles, man. Once again, 4 pillars: lifting, nutrition / supplementation, your cardio, and your sleep. Really focus in on each one of those. See where you can make adjustments. Where can you refine the process, perfect the process, so that at the end of the day, you no longer look back and regret and say, man, I probably, I probably should have done this, probably should have done that. I was full, I was supposed to eat that meal, but I didn't, whatever, maybe tomorrow. Don't let that happen, guys. Write everything down. Constantly take progress pics, progress measurements. Step on the scale every week. Sunday morning when you wake up, empty stomach, measure yourself, weigh yourself, write it down. Every single week, guys. Make sure you're gaining that 1 pound a week, adding 500 calories to the overall daily caloric intake on a daily basis, man. You're going to be golden. So thanks for writing in, Scott. I appreciate it, dude. Everyone else, thanks for watching. Until next time, take care. I'm out.